Yeah, thank you all for attending and bringing all of your various knowledge bases together. That's what these workshops and symposia are really great at, showing cross-pollination between different cultures, different institutions, different political organizations. Chile, of course, being probably one of the most stable political countries in South America, thankfully. But I'll address this to you first, Chris, but I think everybody might want to chip in on this. Given that astronomy and the optical sciences are probably one of the cleanest industries one could ever envision, as opposed to the mining that is a competing factor both in Arizona, California, and Chile. Arizona seems to become a haven for prisons, private prisons. Not what you really think of in terms of prized economic development. I'm really interested to know why the Chilean governmental agencies seem to want to support astronomy via these sponsorships, yet won't put any skin in the game in terms of real financial funding. And if they can't do financial funding, what muscle might they help flex with localities or your regional lighting institutions to help move the ball down the field, even if they can't come up with cold hard cash or funding maybe for lighting projects. So Chris first, and then maybe the rest of you can speak to that as well.
Well, I think the fundamental fact is, although astronomy is clean and astronomy is interesting, astronomy will never be an economic powerhouse in Chile, at least, in terms of comparative to mining and other large industries, in terms of producing the economic output. And so, and we try to actually manage that expectation. Occasionally, the authorities will look at, wow, this one big telescope is coming in, now 2 or 3 big telescopes are coming in. That's a few, several $billion. But we have to remind them that it's only several $billion in a single injection. So the challenge is to pull the government in and to make them realize that there are other benefits other than the education. The one thing that's been most successful is that astronomy can be a spark plug for innovation. At least in Chile, again, it's all about the economy, but they're realizing that mining is not going to be there forever. They're trying to change the whole Chilean culture, Chilean economy, from a single source economy of mining into an innovation economy. And they see astronomy as a significant component of that, both in the possibility of spinning off highly trained engineers, as well as bringing students into sciences in general. But again, that doesn't reach, that reaches the minds of some, but frankly doesn't reach the minds of the Ministry of Economy. And so the funding isn't there. So what they've chosen to do is support us through regulation and support us in terms of trying to help us raise the profile of astronomy, the importance of astronomy as a national treasure. And that is slowly taking form in our case. And I think actually it's fundamentally possibly a better way if we can reach people and make them as proud of the dark sky as they are of the Chilean football team. Then we will have the support, the great grassroots support that's necessary to fight off the natural growth of lighting in the communities, growth in the city.
I can speak to Arizona as well, and Chris, you probably know a lot of this perfectly well. you know, in talking with the legislature about expansion of electronic billboards and the like, you know, it's been the economic argument that we start with. And those are the numbers that Lori was showing in her first talk. This study, we have, you know, $1.3 billion of capital investment, you know, $250 billion annually. We have been trying to emphasize the connections between astronomy per se and Arizona's optics industry, which encompasses a large number of other major companies. And then, you know, then at sort of the second level, you get to the more visionary kinds of things. Just in the context of the Discovery Channel telescope, you know, I will tell legislators, as a result of that telescope, you know, Lowell Observatory has now formed 7 institutional partnerships with major universities and major international astronomy entities like the Korea Astronomy and Space Science Institute. And these are people who've come to DCT and bring their best and brightest to Arizona. These are, you know, grad students looking for good places to live, good places to work. These are the ancillary benefits. But you know, we do have to start with just the cold hard numbers. And it's pretty clear, you know, when outdoor advertising companies want to do something, of the various dark sky interests in Arizona, they know they have to start with astronomy. And you know, we are the one industry that if we really put up our hands, we can knock it down. And there's nobody else who can do that. And so, you know, we've got that relationship established, and that done, then, you know, as we'll get to probably a little later, we really try to work with them to come up with a good solution.
Yeah, I'll just add one thing. This sort of gets back to a point that Dan made earlier today, and that is that we really have to continue educating our elected officials and our city and county government officials. What I find in Tucson is that the older generations of, you know, people my generation and older, they recognize the name Kitt Peak and they understand what it means, and they actually have a lot of pride in Arizona's leadership in astronomy, and they identify with that. Younger generations, including elected officials, not so much. And that pride of having a special kind of industry in a special place that's noted for that is going away, and we need to reinvigorate that. We're working on plans to stage various events in Phoenix and other places in Arizona, big population centers, to, you know, raise our profile with the public again and try to instill that pride. Because I find that when you know, I talk to as many of our visitors on the mountain as is practical to do, and you know, the general public, by and large, if you put in front of them a proposition that says, you know, what do you think is more important, the preservation of dark skies, or you know, more commercial lighting? I mean, you know, the public really do appreciate dark skies. They really do, and but they don't always understand what the threats are, and they don't always understand that they have a way to participate in the process as well through their local governments. And so, you know, I've been buying and sending Paul Bogart. May never have to work another day in his life. Just the number of, you know, I've been buying his book, The End of Night. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend it. You know, I send copies of that to people weekly, just about. You know, government officials, interesting people who may have resources to contribute to this kind of problem. And you know, people are generally quite interested in it. They just need a way to plug in.
You know, it's clear to all of us that our appeal is emotional more than economic at the moment. And astronomy, I think, went through a nadir where people started shutting down small telescopes and big astronomy is only done with big telescopes, but there's been kind of a renaissance now that's occurred in that new instrumentation, high cadence surveys being mined by large data processes has opened up, I think, the fact that for the large surveys like LSST, that the follow-up rate is going to be very, very low compared with the data volume. And so we are actually not able to collect the starlight and harvest the knowledge like we would want to do. And so that means we need more telescopes, not less. The other thing is, I've been watching with amazement the advancement in technology. And the advancement in technology in terms of the proliferation of new technology that we thought would not be that important, but has turned out to be incredibly important. For example, the development of the CubeSat and the low-cost launch pad packages. This means that what we may be seeing is the tip of the iceberg of the space economy. And I think that the use of ground-based astronomy, the knowledge, the facilities, and what we have to teach people will have uses that we've never thought of. And, you know, if we ever have another event where a large rock comes down and shatters some window, especially in the U.S., it's going to really draw people's attention that we need to be paying attention. And of course, the relationship between the dark skies and the scientific productivity is easily demonstrable. So, you know, I'm looking for ways to have a little bit of forward thinking on the verge of crazy, but pushing the envelope so that when these ideas come up, we're ready to respond.
Thank you much. Just one follow-up. What is the ratio of how many ground-based high-quality observatories can you build for the cost of, say, a Hubble Space Telescope? Is it still 10 to 1 or 100 to 1, something like that? Is it? It's a huge number.
Well, if you're talking about 1 meter class telescopes, because there's been a push to have very effective 1 meter class robotic observatories, and when these are used in arrays, they can be quite effective for search and rescue. So the economy of scale is even increasing it more, and I expect as time goes on, the manufacturing of 1 meter, maybe someday 2 meter class telescopes will be extremely cost effective. It's just that we're running out of places to put them that are good.
That's true. Now, I would say, 10 to 100, depending on your aperture, right? So Discovery Channel telescope was 53 billion, so call it 10 to 1, for a modest-sized space mission, 20 to 30 for something bigger. But, a 1 meter telescope off the shelf from some of the companies who manufacture those is less than $1 million, and then you install it. So, yeah, you can do a lot of these for quite a bit. You do need the range of facilities just to have the limiting magnitude, particularly if we're looking for itty-bitty rocks that 1 meters can't necessarily see, but, it's going to be in that range.
Yeah, I do think a lot of public officials, with the advent of the Hubble Space Telescope, they thought, well, that's the end of ground-based observing, and why do we care about dark skies anymore?
Right. Well, the additional image, the additional aspect that plays well, actually, when we bring this up in Arizona, is the collaboration with the Naval Observatory, and its mission is evolving towards, imaging of things in orbit that are as faint as little rocks, but they're not little rocks, they're up there, geosync, looking back down. And, you need to have a dark sky threshold to make those kinds of applications feasible as well.
AKA national defense.
Yeah.
I'll say it, you can't say it. I'll say national
One
defense.
question over here from Gary, who's been waiting here for about 10, 15.
No problem. Gary Carter, I'm with the Texas Astronomical Society at Dallas. I do a lot of education and public outreach, and I'm working with Texas State Parks on establishing some dark sky parks and a couple of communities to apply for Dark Sky Community Awards. In the work I've been doing, you know, I've noticed a lot of similar themes that you guys are talking about here. One of the things that's very interesting to me is what's happening down in Chile in terms of having national support. One of the things that strikes me here in the United States as a lacking initiative is legislation at the federal level that actually pushes for these sorts of things so that we're not left having to go to every stinking state and city and appeal to the Planning and Zoning Commission and the town engineer to try and enact these ordinances. And so I'm interested to know, you know, across this community of folks that really understand the root of the problem. And, you know, if you look right through the Dallas line north of the United States, that tsunami is sweeping across the United States. It's passing over me where I live. The car lot example that you had in there, prime example of what just took away my northern skies. When I went and spoke, I was buying a car at the time. And inside this Toyota dealership was a monument to my carpets are recycled pop bottles. My tile is recycled glass. My bathrooms are chemical toilets. I can control the HVAC system wherever I am in the world. This was the person who operates this place. And make sure that the sales guys are a little more comfortable, or I'm sorry, the accounting people are a little more comfortable, but the sales guys are not. You know, we're not wasting air conditioning. They should be out in the car lot selling cars. So I went and appealed to him and said, look at the lights. And he said, well, I've struggled with that. And his problem is he doesn't have the technology to keep thieves from rolling under the cars, because the only 3 times he's ever been hit was when the lights went out. They were in there cutting the catalytic converters out from the platinum, and he had 20 cars hit in a matter of hours. So, you know, there are some challenges there, and believe me, when the car lots come through, that's one of the biggest challenges we'll have. As John knows, 80% of people who grew up in the city have never seen the dark skies. You talk about this lack of having...
Without the local buy-in, and we're not getting the regulations enforced. And so it may look great on paper, but unless you have that local support, things fall apart.
I think that this kind of discussion, I'd like to see actually tapped into a whole lot more in detail. Not just the issues, but actually how we, as an entity of astronomers, can go about, you know, what are the next steps? And so that's, if we could come back to that at the very end and really dive into not just the problems, but the solutions, that would be really great. Okay, so we're just 3 or 4 minutes behind our schedule, which is really great. So I'd like to offer, at least for the next 12 minutes or so, to have a break. We have wonderful cookies, sodas, and water. And also, I don't know where the floor of the bathrooms are, but you know, this is the time. You might want to do that as well. And we'll be back at 3 o'clock here.